For 30 years, André Rio kept a secret that would rewrite everything we thought we knew about the king of the waltz. Behind the glittering concerts and warm smile was a second life no one suspected, and recent revelations are shaking the music world. In this video, you'll hear the full story. André Rio was born October 1st, 1949, in Mastri, the third of 6 children in a musical household. His father, Andrez Antonier Rio, conductor of the Limburg Symphony, put a violin in Andre's hands at 5. Daily practice and strict discipline shaped him early. Music wasn't just study, it was life. From 1968, André studied in major Dutch centers under Joe Uda and Herman Krebers, then moved to Brussels to study with Professor André Gertler, graduating in 1977 with top honors. Those years deepened his understanding of the waltz, the genre he later called the language of joy. In the 1970s, André began performing with local orchestras, joining the Mastri Symphony and earning praise for his flexible conducting. But he saw a gap between high art and ordinary people. In 1975, he married Mastri Koopman, a language teacher who became his partner in life and strategy, handling logistics while André developed a new, more accessible performance style. By the late 1970s, he founded the Mastri Salon Orchestra, performing in theaters, town squares, and small halls. André rearranged Strauss, brightened tempos, and turned concerts into celebrations. The Salon Orchestra became his lab. He learned personnel management, production, and the business skills most musicians lacked. As André later said, to reach people, music had to breathe. You had to make it dance. In 1987, André took the next step and founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra. 12 musicians rehearsed for 6 months and debuted on New Year's Day, 1988. André performed on his treasured 1667 Stradivarius, while Marjorie ran the organization, finance, recruitment, production. Refusing to rely on sponsorships, they built an independent model, direct ticketing, in-house production, and full creative control. Televised concerts from 1991 brought his lively style to a national audience. Revenue from TV and ticket sales funded expansion. By 1993, the orchestra had nearly 30 members and a growing regional following. Then in 1994, André released the second waltz, an adaptation that exploded into a national phenomenon, the breakthrough that sent promoters calling and tickets selling out worldwide. Through the late 90s and 2000s, the Johann Strauss Orchestra toured the U.S., Australia, Japan, and across Europe, releasing live albums and DVDs. Summer concerts at Freithof Square and Mastri became a cultural ritual. By 2007, the company ran like a corporation. 50-plus performers, hundreds of crew, carefully timed tours. The pinnacle came in 2008, when André invested roughly 24 million euros to recreate Austria's Schönbrunn Palace on stage, a Baroque spectacle with cavalry, choir, and lavish staging. But while the world danced, André lived between two worlds. That hidden life, the one that's now coming to light, is what we'll unpack next. Stay tuned. The truth about André Rio is more complicated than any encore. When André Rio turned a simple waltz into a mass spectacle, he didn't just stage a concert. He reshaped how people experience classical music. The international arts world hailed the event as a grand opera-scale triumph, but behind the glamour, the cost nearly broke his company. André never called it a failure. It proved classical music could be a shared, public experience. Tens of thousands swaying to Schickovich and Strauss, an achievement few modern musicians match. After that high came André's biggest trial. In 2010, while preparing UK and Australia tours, he was struck by a viral vestibular nerve infection that destroyed his balance and forced a 3-month stop. Tours were cancelled, tens of thousands of tickets refunded, and the orchestra paused for the first time in years. Recovery exposed a toll of thousands of stage hours and the psychological hit of stopping. At the same time, a costly 24 million euro reconstruction of Schönbrunn Palace had drained his personal reserves. Health and finance collided. André Rio's comeback was not the stuff of a single dramatic curtain call. It was a slow, stubborn rebuilding, the careful architecture of a life that refused to be defined by illness or headlines. When he and his wife, Marjorie, realized the old model of non-stop touring would break him, they did what great musicians do when faced with dissonance. They rescored the arrangement. They began at home. De Rentjes Castle, a wind-battered manor on the edge of a small Dutch town, became more than a family residence. It became the orchestra's operations HQ. Within the castle's stone bones, they built a recording studio, a sound workshop for restoring and modifying instruments, and a compact tour office where Marjorie, André, and their son Pierre mapped out seasons like they plotted movements in a symphony. The castle's echoing corridors, once silent between rehearsals, now vibrated with the careful work of preservation and reinvention. Strategically, they tightened the orchestra's world. Long, distant tours were cut. Logistics were trimmed. Investment shifted into film concerts and television deals. By professionally recording shows for broadcast, the Johann Strauss Orchestra kept a global audience engaged without forcing André back into the punishing travel schedule that had nearly destroyed him. He focused performances on familiar cities, Maastricht, Vienna, Cologne, places where halls felt like muscle memory and the audiences returned like old friends. André's recovery was incremental. He accepted a steadier pace, light exercise, moderated drinking, more sleep. He learned to treat the body as an instrument that required tuning. Giving up is the worst thing you can do, he told the orchestra at rehearsal one winter afternoon, the line becoming a private motto and a public rallying cry. His voice, slightly rasped from years of strain, carried both the humility of someone who had nearly lost the stage and the stubborn joy of a man who had found new reasons to play. Marjorie handled the finances with precision that matched her husband's phrasing. Pierre, now a competent producer in his 30s, led production and communications, bringing a younger sensibility to how the orchestra presented itself on screen. The family's shared stewardship meant decisions were fast and often ruthless. Which venues to keep, which to let go, which parts of the repertoire to amplify on camera. They insisted that film performances were not concessions. They were a new art form. The Castle Sound Workshop developed recording techniques that captured the orchestra's warmth without flattening its live energy. Small innovations, a refurbished mic array, a clever placement of the violin section, began to be copied by other ensembles. From 2012 onward, the gamble paid off. Expanded TV partnerships and a steady trickle of film performances broadened André's reach. Audiences who couldn't fly to Europe were suddenly in his front row on a living room couch. By 2016, momentum returned. New albums, cautiously planned tours, and André who had learned how to lead without burning bright and fast. Then the pandemic hit. In 2020, the Freithof concert series and all international tours were canceled overnight. The orchestra, which employed 120 people, faced monthly costs approaching €1 million with no ticket revenue. André made a choice that defined him as much as any waltz. There would be no mass layoffs. For months, he continued to pay the staff from the family's reserves and lines of credit, a decision that bled them financially, but kept the ensemble intact. When cultural relief from the Dutch government arrived, roughly €10 million, it arrived like oxygen, stabilizing payroll and operations, and buying time for creative recovery. The quiet months bred inventiveness. The castle hosted small, socially distanced recording sessions streamed to subscribers. Musicians taught online masterclasses. Pierre organized virtual outreach to conservatories. When Europe cautiously reopened, mid-scale test concerts sold out within hours. The public's hunger for live music hadn't evaporated. It only learned to appreciate what was nearly lost. By 2023, the orchestra had resumed full activity. The outdoor Freithof once again anchored Europe's summer season, and each performance carried the extra weight of survival and gratitude. In 2024, André released The Sound of Heaven, an album that critics called both nostalgic and modern. It threaded Strauss's waltzes with contemporary arrangements that felt like bridges between eras. Early in 2025, the concert Film Gold and Silver opened in UK cinemas, drawing younger audiences who had first encountered André on their phones and now flocked to the theater to feel an orchestra's sweep on the big screen. He capped the year by honoring Johann Strauss with Thank You, Johann Strauss, a multimedia gala that celebrated the composer's 200th anniversary and highlighted the orchestra's role in keeping the waltz alive. 3 decades after founding the Johann Strauss Orchestra, André Rio stands as both artist and entrepreneur, A man who refused to trade longevity for flash, and who proved that art could survive because of discipline, imagination, and compassion. His story is a lesson in resilience, that reinvention can preserve what matters while inviting new life. If you believe music can connect people across time and borders, let this story travel. Share it, and let more people discover how a waltz, played with care, can become a language of joy.